The Unexpected Commission. Saffron Quinn balanced precariously on a stepladder, paintbrush between her teeth, as she added the final touches to the mural in Mrs. Abernathy's new boutique. Her auburn curls were secured in a messy bun, flecks of paint dotting her freckled face like tiny constellations. "You've outdone yourself, dear," Mrs. Abernathy said, admiring the forest scene that now transformed her previously sterile wall. "Though I worry about you taking these small jobs when your talent deserves grand spaces." Saffron smiled, climbing down carefully. "Small jobs pay the rent," she replied, wiping her hands on her already paint-splattered jeans. "Besides, I love making beautiful things for people who appreciate them." What she didn't say was that her bank account held exactly $247.32, barely enough for next month's rent on her tiny studio apartment that doubled as her workspace. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, probably another reminder about her overdue student loans. Instead, it was her sister Iris. "Are you sitting down?" Iris asked without preamble. "I'm standing in Mrs. Abernathy's shop. Why?" "Because Nathaniel Hawthorne's office just called the gallery asking for your contact information." Saffron nearly dropped her phone. "The Nathaniel Hawthorne? Glass Palace Nathaniel Hawthorne?" "The very same. Apparently he saw your installation piece at the Underground Art Collective last month. His assistant said he wants to discuss a potential project." The world seemed to tilt slightly. Nathaniel Hawthorne was a legend, the creator of quantum encryption technology that had revolutionized digital security and made him billions. He was also notoriously private, living in his architectural marvel nicknamed the Glass Palace, a stunning modernist structure perched on Crescent Mountain overlooking the city. "This could change everything, Saf," Iris continued. "But be careful. I've heard he's difficult." That evening, Saffron sat cross-legged on her apartment floor, scrolling through the limited information available about Hawthorne's home. The Glass Palace was largely a mystery, with only a few exterior shots existing in architectural magazines. Its interior remained fiercely private, protected from curious eyes. Her phone rang at precisely 8 p.m. The crisp, efficient voice belonged to a woman who introduced herself as Ms. Winters, Mr. Hawthorne's personal assistant. "Mr. Hawthorne would like you to redesign the eastern wing of his residence," Ms. Winters stated without pleasantries. "He appreciates your use of natural elements within contemporary frameworks. The project is confidential and would require your full attention for approximately 3 months." Saffron's heart raced. "May I ask why he chose me?" "There are more established designers. Mr. Hawthorne makes his own decisions, Ms. Quinn. He saw something in your work that resonated with him. The compensation would be substantial." She named a figure that made Saffron's breath catch. "A car will collect you tomorrow at 9 a.m. for an initial meeting if you're interested." After the call ended, Saffron sat in stunned silence before calling Iris. "It's real," she whispered. "I'm meeting him tomorrow." "Just remember who you are," Iris cautioned. "Men like Hawthorne live in different worlds. Don't let him intimidate you." As Saffron laid out her most professional outfit for tomorrow, she gazed out her small window at the distant mountain where the Glass Palace caught the last light of day, shimmering like a mirage against the darkening sky. Something about this opportunity felt like destiny, or perhaps a beautiful trap. Either way, tomorrow she would step into Nathaniel Hawthorne's world, not knowing how completely it would change her own. The man behind the glass. The sleek black car wound its way up Crescent Mountain, each turn revealing more breathtaking views of the valley below. Saffron pressed her fingertips against the window, trying to calm her racing heart. Her portfolio case rested on her lap, containing carefully selected samples that showcased her design philosophy. When the Glass Palace finally came into view, Saffron gasped involuntarily. Photographs hadn't captured its true essence. How it seemed to emerge from the mountainside like a crystal formation, walls of glass and steel reflecting the morning light in prismatic patterns. "Ms. Quinn." The car door opened to reveal a tall woman with immaculate silver hair pulled into a severe bun. "I'm Ms. Winters. Please follow me." The entrance hall was a study in minimalism, Polished concrete floors, soaring ceilings, and walls of glass that erased the boundary between inside and outside. Yet despite its architectural perfection, Saffron immediately sensed something missing. The space felt unlived in, more gallery than home. "Mr. Hawthorne will see you in the observatory," Ms. Winters said, leading Saffron through a series of increasingly impressive rooms. The observatory was a circular space with a retractable glass ceiling, currently open to the brilliant blue sky. Standing with his back to her, gazing out at the view, was Nathaniel Hawthorne. "Ms. Quinn," he said without turning, "your timing is excellent. The light at this hour reveals everything, flaws and potential alike." When he finally faced her, Saffron was struck by how different he looked from his rare public appearances. Younger than she expected, perhaps mid-30s, with intense dark eyes that seemed to evaluate everything they saw. His features were angular, almost severe, softened only by the unexpected fullness of his mouth. "You're wondering why I chose you," he stated rather than asked. Saffron straightened her shoulders. "I was, yes. Follow me." He led her to a small room off the main corridor. Unlike the rest of the house, this space was warm, intimate, and dominated by a large mixed-media piece she recognized immediately as her own, created during her final year at art school. "I bought this 5 years ago," Nathaniel said quietly, "before you became an interior designer. It's the only piece of art that has ever made me feel at home." Something shifted in Saffron's perception of him. Behind the billionaire facade was someone who understood her artistic language. "The Eastern Wing was meant to be a space for relaxation and creativity," he continued. "But it feels sterile. I need someone who can create atmosphere, not just arrange furniture. Someone who understands that spaces should reflect the soul." "And what does your soul need, Mr. Hawthorne?" The question slipped out before she could censor it. His dark eyes locked with hers, an unexpected vulnerability flashing across his face before disappearing behind his composed expression. "That's precisely what I'm hoping you'll discover, Ms. Quinn." Over the next hours, he showed her the Eastern Wing, a series of beautiful but soulless rooms with panoramic views but no warmth. As they walked, Saffron noticed how he kept physical distance between them, how he spoke about the house in technical terms rather than emotional ones. "You've built a magnificent showcase," she said finally. "But not a home." She expected him to be offended. Instead, a ghost of a smile touched his lips. "That's why you're here, Ms. Quinn. I'll give you complete creative freedom and unlimited budget. The only constraint is time. I need the project completed in 8 weeks for an important event." As Ms. Winters escorted her back to the waiting car, she offered a rare personal comment. "Be careful, Ms. Quinn. Mr. Hawthorne appreciates beauty but keeps it at a distance. Don't mistake professional admiration for anything more." Driving down the mountain, Saffron opened her sketchbook and began drawing furiously, her mind already filling with possibilities for bringing warmth to the cold glass spaces. What she didn't sketch was the lingering impression of Nathaniel's eyes when she'd questioned him about his soul. How for just a moment, they'd revealed a loneliness that matched the vastness of his glass palace. Part 3, Midnight Revelations. Midnight Revelations. 3 weeks into the project, Saffron had grown accustomed to the rhythm of working in the glass palace. Nathaniel was often absent, leaving her to collaborate with the construction team implementing her designs. When he was present, he maintained a professional distance, though she occasionally caught him watching her work with an intensity that sent unexpected warmth through her body. Tonight, however, was different. A summer storm had swept in suddenly, lightning illuminating the mountain in brilliant flashes. Saffron had stayed late, arranging the hand-blown glass sculptures that had finally arrived from an artist in Venice. "You should stay until it passes." Nathaniel's voice startled her. He stood in the doorway, more casual than she'd ever seen him in a simple black sweater and trousers. "The road down the mountain can be treacherous in weather like this." As if punctuating his point, a tremendous crack of thunder shook the building and the lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. "Perfect timing," Nathaniel said dryly in the darkness. A moment later, the emergency generator hummed to life, but only security lights activated, casting the room in a soft amber glow. Outside, rain lashed against the glass walls while lightning transformed the sky into a dramatic canvas. The backup system only powers essentials, Nathaniel explained, moving to a cabinet and retrieving several candles. Ms. Winters would suggest we retreat to the lower level, but I find storms rather compelling from this vantage point. He lit the candles, their warm light creating intimate pools of illumination throughout the room. In this softer light, the hard edges of the glass palace seemed to melt away. "Your sculptures dance beautifully in this light," he observed, gesturing to how the candlelight played through the colored glass, casting jewel-toned shadows across the walls. "That's what I hoped for," Saffron admitted. "Spaces should transform with the light, morning, noon, dusk, midnight, each revealing something new." "Like people," Nathaniel said quietly, his usual reserve softening. He moved to the window, silhouetted against the storm. "I was told once that I'm like this house, impressive at a distance, cold up close." Saffron joined him at the window, careful to maintain the professional distance between them. "Houses reflect their owners, but they can also transform them. That's why I became a designer instead of just an artist. Art you observe, spaces you experience." Another flash of lightning illuminated his face, revealing an expression of such raw loneliness that Saffron nearly reached for him. "Why do you live alone in such a large space?" she asked gently. The silence stretched so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "My parents died when I was 14. Foster homes followed. I promised myself that one day I'd have a place where no one could tell me to leave." His voice remained even, but his hands gripped the window ledge tightly. "The irony is that once I built it, I realized walls, even glass ones, can keep you in as effectively as they keep others out." The confession hung between them in the candlelit darkness. "What about you?" he asked suddenly. "What drives someone to create beauty for other people's homes?" "My mother was a housekeeper for wealthy families," Saffron said, surprised by her willingness to share. "I'd go with her sometimes, imagining what it would be like to belong in those beautiful spaces. I realized early that environments shape how we feel about ourselves." Lightning flashed again, closer now, and in that brilliant moment, their eyes met. Something electric passed between them that had nothing to do with the storm. Nathaniel took a deliberate step back. "The storm's center is passing. It should clear soon," but neither moved from the window. And as the candlelight flickered across their faces, the true redesign had already begun, not of the house, but of the walls they'd both built around their hearts. Part 4. Reflections and Doubts. "You're falling for him," Iris stated bluntly over coffee at their favorite cafe. She pushed her phone across the table, displaying a society page with a candid photo of Saffron and Nathaniel examining architectural plans on the glass palace terrace. Saffron's cheeks flushed. "That's completely unprofessional. We have a working relationship." "Your face says otherwise," Iris countered gently. "I know that look, Saff. It's the same one you had before Marcus broke your heart." Saffron winced at the mention of her ex-partner, who had used her designs in his portfolio without credit after their breakup. "This is different. Nathaniel respects my work, I'm sure he does. But men like him, they live in different worlds. When this project ends, you'll go back to your studio apartment and he'll remain in his glass tower." The words stung because they echoed Saffron's own midnight doubts. Over the past 6 weeks, something had undeniably shifted between her and Nathaniel. After the night of the storm, he began joining her daily, offering insights into his preferences that felt increasingly like sharing pieces of himself. Their hands would occasionally brush as they reviewed samples. Sometimes she would look up to find his eyes already on her, with an expression that made her heart race. Yesterday, he had taken her to his private art collection, pieces never displayed publicly, and the intimacy of sharing his carefully guarded passions had felt more revealing than any physical touch. The unveiling. "Gala is in 10 days, Saffron said, changing the subject. "Then the project is complete. And then what?" Iris asked softly. Saffron had no answer. At the Glass Palace that afternoon, Saffron found Nathaniel unusually distant, retreating behind his professional facade. The easy companionship of recent weeks had vanished. "Is everything all right?" she finally asked as they reviewed the lighting plan for the meditation room. "Ms. Winters expressed some concerns," he said stiffly, "about the nature of our working relationship." Saffron's stomach tightened. "I see." She reminded me that talented designers often seek beneficial connections with clients. His voice was carefully neutral. "Particularly clients in my position." The implication hit Saffron like a physical blow. "You think I've been cultivating your favor for professional advancement?" "I think it would be reasonable strategy," he replied, not meeting her eyes. "You've made no secret of your career ambitions." Saffron gathered her drawings with trembling hands. "I'll have the final plans delivered tomorrow. I believe we can complete the remaining work without further personal consultation." As she turned to leave, his voice stopped her. "Saffron." "It's Ms. Quinn." "Mr. Hawthorne," she corrected, her voice breaking slightly, as it should have remained. That night, alone in her apartment, Saffron stared at the distant lights of the glass palace on the mountainside. The eastern wing, her wing, was now illuminated in the warm, golden light she had designed, visible even from this distance. She had poured her heart into those rooms, creating spaces where Nathaniel might finally feel at home. But in doing so, she had made the mistake of beginning to feel at home with him. Her phone chimed with a message from Ms. Winters. "Mr. Hawthorne approves all final plans. Contractors will complete implementation. Your presence is requested only for the unveiling gala." The professional courtesy was impeccable. The message clear: her job was done. Her access to Nathaniel's world revoked. Saffron closed her eyes against the tears that threatened. She had transformed the glass palace exactly as promised. But who would transform the loneliness that now echoed through her own heart? Truth under starlight. The unveiling gala transformed the glass palace into a glittering showcase. The eastern wing, once cold and impersonal, now radiated warmth and vitality. Saffron had created spaces that breathed with natural elements. Living walls of greenery, water features that caught and refracted light, handcrafted furniture and warm woods that balanced the steel and glass architecture. Wearing a simple emerald dress that matched her eyes, Saffron moved through the rooms she had designed, accepting compliments from Nathaniel's impressed guests while avoiding the host himself. She spotted him occasionally across crowded rooms, impeccable in a tailored black suit, his face an unreadable mask. "Extraordinary work," commented a renowned architect, studying the central gathering space where Saffron had installed a kinetic light sculpture that danced across curved walls. "Hawthorne's home finally feels human." "That was the intention," Saffron replied, unable to keep a note of sadness from her voice. As the evening progressed, the weight of finality pressed heavier on her heart. This beautiful space she had created would no longer be part of her daily life, nor would the man who owned it. When the crowd began to thin, Saffron slipped away, to the stargazing terrace, her favorite of all the spaces she had designed. Here, comfortable seating surrounded a central fire feature with the glass walls programmed to dim their reflection, making the stars brilliantly visible. It was a place of both intimacy and vastness, much like the feelings she had developed for Nathaniel. She would allow herself this one last moment before leaving the glass palace forever. "I thought I might find you here." Nathaniel's voice startled her. He stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the light from inside, his expression hidden in shadow. "I was just saying goodbye," Saffron said, gathering her composure. "The gala was a success. You should be pleased with how the spaces were received." "The spaces are perfect." He moved closer into the soft light cast by the fire. "It's the designer I'm concerned about." Saffron looked away, focusing on the stars above. "No need for concern. Our contract is complete." "Is that all it was to you?" "A contract?" The question hung between them, fragile and dangerous. You made your opinion quite clear, she replied, that my interest was professionally motivated. Nathaniel moved to stand beside her, both of them gazing upward at the midnight sky. I've spent my life keeping people at a distance, he said quietly, assuming everyone wants something from me. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. He turned to face her fully. Ms. Winters showed me the society page photos, suggested you were using our connection for publicity, and I let old fears cloud what I was beginning to feel. Saffron's heart pounded painfully. And what was that? That for the first time, this place feels like home, not because of the redesign, but because of your presence in it. His voice dropped lower. I watch you move through these rooms and I can imagine a life beyond work and isolation. A life with beauty and warmth and, Saffron whispered, barely breathing. Love, he finished simply. I've never said that word aloud in this house before. The glass walls around them reflected their images. Two people standing close, but not touching, surrounded by stars both above and below, as if suspended in the universe. I don't want your connections or your wealth, Saffron said finally. But I would like to know the man who keeps that painting of mine because it makes him feel at home. Nathaniel reached out slowly, as if giving her time to pull away, and brushed his fingers along her cheek. I've never been good at letting people in. Fortunately, Saffron smiled tremulously, I specialize in opening up closed spaces. His hand cradled her face with infinite gentleness, and when he finally lowered his lips to hers, the kiss was like coming home, tender yet electric with promise. Against the backdrop of the infinite starry sky, they were no longer billionaire and designer, but simply two people choosing to tear down the walls between them. When they finally parted, breathless, Nathaniel rested his forehead against hers. Stay, he whispered, not as my designer. Stay and help me learn how to truly live in this home we've created. Saffron's answer was another kiss, deeper this time, as shooting stars streaked across the midnight sky above the glass palace. A home that was finally complete, not because.